You don't. Well, maybe it's a little bit more nuanced. There are some people that love to create and dive headfirst into making art and, creating during tough times. A lot of our great artists in history have done that. They've created their, most iconic pieces of work during times that are tough for them. Most of Van Gogh's works were created during a time of deep mental health, problems and situations, and they yielded the most beautiful results. But we're not all like that. We're not all, well, I believe that we're all artists, but we're not all built that way. And some of us need to take more time to retreat and to have a little bit more of a nuanced relationship with what we create. It doesn't matter if you're journaling or you're a planner or you paint or draw. Creating art in any medium is tough during difficult times. And I wanted to share 3 tips today for what has helped me to create during these unprecedented times. I think anyone who has lived through 2020 has heard that word so many times, but in this modern day and age, I feel like we're living through unprecedented times every single year. And I guess that's just the norm. Change is the only constant. And, it's been a difficult 2025 for me personally. And there's been a lot of global issues happening around the world, obviously, with the LA fires happening in January, my dad being hospitalized all of a sudden and going into surgery and critical care in January was probably one of the biggest things that has rocked me as an adult in a while. And also, I also got sick in January with like a cold like flu, and also, the whole situation in America. Although I'm Canadian, I'm based in America, there's just so much happening here, and the political unrest is ridiculous, and I just do not stand with the current administration, and I think it's horrible what's happening here, and it's affecting my fellow Canadians as well with the trade wars, and the tariffs and whatnot. But there's so much that could weigh us down, that could force us to not create. But I think it's a little bit beautiful when we do carve out some time to create, because creating in itself feels like an act of resilience and resistance amidst these dark times. It just shows that despite everything, we're still creating and we're still making art. And I think that's beautiful. And I hope that my tips help you to create and to help you shine during this 2025. My word of the year is shine. And I hope these 3 tips spark a little bit of hope for you and a little bit of an example that it's easy to create and to make things even during the darkest of times. All we have is each other, so I think as a community, it's beautiful that we have this space to talk about what helps us create, and I hope we can continue to uplift each other in 2025. But I've yapped long enough, let's talk about those tips. I think habit stacking is a great way to pair a creative hobby with something that you do regularly. Something that I've been doing is I've been brewing coffee in like a coffee maker. I usually do like a drip or pour over, which takes a lot more time and intention, which is great. But during these times, I just want like something easy, and there's something to be said about like that kind of diner-esque coffee. It might not taste good, but it's nostalgic. And during these kind of more difficult times, I've been trying to stack the habit of making and drinking my coffee with one of my creative habits or things that I want to do. And one of my creative outlets is journaling daily in my passport size traveler's notebook. And so when I'm making and drinking my coffee, I will just write in my journal. And obviously this journal might not seem like the most creative because it's just pen to paper, but this is something that I need in my creative practice, and it helps me create more art because I reference a lot of the memories that I make in here in my journals and in my other artworks and creative journals. So I like to stack, my coffee making and drinking. Let's take a sip. Tim Hortons. It's a little a little burnt tasting, but it's comforting. And yeah, I'll drink this. Well, I'll brew it and actually start writing this usually on the kitchen counter or at the coffee table. And then I usually just fill out this little piece. And by the time that the coffee's made and I've drank like maybe 2 or 3 sips, I'm usually done this. It usually just takes 5 minutes, and it only takes that much time to create, a little piece of work. It might not be the greatest and coolest piece of art, but it is something, and it helps me feel creative and it helps me feel accomplished. So stacking habits is a great way to, do something in your journals or in your sketchbook. Maybe you want to draw something in your sketchbook while you're waiting for your food to heat during lunch, or while you're microwaving popcorn in the evening. Maybe that's something you do eat or do every evening. Maybe you can pull out your sketchbook and draw something or write something in your traveler's notebook or your hobonichi. It's, something as simple as stacking something that you do often or a habit that you already have established and adding a new habit to it. And so they stack together and they're kind of like a pair. So now every time I make coffee, it feels like I need to have this journal with me so I can document my day and feel a little bit creative. So cheers to habit stacking. Bing! The most drawing I've actually done during the month of January or the start of 2025 is this one picture of this plush Pop Mart toy. It's a Labubu, and it's kind of taken the internet by storm, but that's all I've drawn for the past month. And as someone who likes to draw pretty regularly or doodle pretty regularly, I think it's an indication that I haven't been creating much. And although I love this doodle, it's in oil pastel and it's a drawing of a plush that I love. It shows that creating during these hard times is definitely a challenge. So I've actually ended up documenting a lot of my hobbies in a creative way. Over the month of January, all that I've wanted to do is just watch TV and consume media that takes me out of this world. I just love being transported to a new world. I love watching an action thriller. I recently watched like A Quiet Place Day One, which is a movie that I enjoyed. The Night Agent Season 2 on Netflix, a bunch of action movies, and it has really helped me feel like it was a nice escape from, everything that's been happening in the world and in my life. And although that's not always healthy, it's always good to reflect on the situation. It's also nice to escape the situation a little bit. And what I found is that during this time, when I watch these shows, I felt inspired to document it in some way. And so I think one of my tips is to turn one of your adjacent hobbies and link it with your creative hobby, or turning your brain rot activity like scrolling on TikTok and finding a way to document it in a creative way. So for me, I started tracking my media consumption in my plotter, and I've just been doing a little dedicated journal page for each of the shows or movies that I finish. I put the start date and the end date, and I just write my thoughts on it. The art isn't groundbreaking, it's just simple collages, but it helps me feel like I've created something, even though my main hobby was actually consuming media. And it's a nice way to tie your media consumption into something creative. Not to say that watching TV isn't creative. There's so many ideas and inspiration that comes to you when you watch movies and TV shows, but I wanted to directly find a way to turn my kind of bed rot activity into something creative. And so I created a series of journal pages that have, little collages of relevant themes for each of the shows that I've watched and finished, and just my simple thoughts and a little review. I give it a little star rating, and obviously I can go into more detail about my media journal, but my main takeaway for this is pairing, kind of like the first tip, habit stacking. It's turning your non-creative hobbies or your bed rot activities and linking it with your creative practice. So I think turning my TV watching into media journaling has been an efficient way to, enjoy the escapism of TV and watching, different worlds and seeing different worlds, while also connecting it back to this world and creating something tangible and feeling creative at the same time. My last and final tip is to just take it slow. You're going through a tough time. No one expects you to make a million doodles and drawings or journal pages or start a new bullet journal during this time. I think the people around you, your loved ones, know what you're going through, and sometimes it's hard to accept yourself that you're going through a tough time. And so you need to pause and just take a little break and take it slower. Your output might be 100 during regular times, but during difficult times, maybe your creative output is at 20%, maybe it's at 15, maybe it's at 10%, or maybe it's at 75. Everyone creates differently, but I think it's important to acknowledge that you got to slow down and just realize that you're not going to make the same amount of artwork as you normally do, and that's fine. Like, I really wanted to post a video each week on YouTube, and that's one of my creative outlets and a piece of my creative habit, but I think I only posted 2 videos, and that was fine because I was going through a lot of things, and I had a hard time processing that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm happy that I still put something out there even though I was going through all these things. I was hoping to finish this journal insert in January, and unfortunately there's still like 3 or 4 pages left, and I could sulk about that, but also it's totally fine. I feel okay that it's not finished, and I can still continue to work on it slowly in February and finish it when I have time to finish it and when it gets finished. There's really no timeline. I know that we like to set timelines and arbitrary deadlines for ourselves, and obviously in our day-to-day work and stuff, it's important. But when it's your creative hobby or passion project, I don't think there's any need to rush. And also, there's something to be said about the number or the output of things that we make, but also the quality of what we make. We could be making the same amount of art and journal pages during these hard times, but is the quality of work up to your standard? Maybe it's not. And I think that's a good time to pause and to reflect and to see, what, I'm just making things, but I'm not happy with it. Why is that? Maybe I should slow down and be more intentional with what I'm making. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how much I've created over the past few weeks. Even during difficult times, I really found it comforting to just collage. I might not be writing and journaling in some of these pages as much as I normally do. And sometimes it's just nice to stick paper on paper and play with stickers, and not every journal page has to have a doodle or a painting. And that's one thing that I definitely, worked through this month. And it's a nice reminder that although I didn't create as much, I still made time to document my life and to write a little bit and create a little bit, even though so much was happening in my personal life and around the world. But yeah, that was my 3rd tip. Take it slow. Okay, so those are my 3 tips for how to create and journal and make art during tough times. Obviously, these are all just little, pieces of advice, but when you're going through it, no one is gonna knock you for not making art or not documenting your life, because there's a million things going on and it's totally fine. I just wanted to share these tips so that you feel like it's doable, and that even though things are rough, there are, you know, moments of light. And honestly, this community has been integral for my journey this past month. There have been so many kind comments and words of encouragement, DMs, emails, comments, checking in on me and my dad and my family, and I cannot thank you all enough. And I think having a community like this is a privilege, and I'm so thankful that I have all of you that I can lean on and, you know, find support and comfort in all of you. So thank you for, you know, even just dropping a like or a comment or sending, you know, any words of encouragement. A little bit of an update: my dad's doing better. I think he's going to be out of the hospital in a few days. So it's been almost a full month of him being hospitalized and his whole journey. And we really thought we were going to lose him at some point, maybe like 2 weeks ago. So it's been really tough, but I am so thankful that everything worked out the way it did. And I'm so thankful for all of your support. I can't wait to create more journaling and, you know, content for all of you. But one of my hard drives, my SSD, which is weird because it's like an extreme SSD. It's from SanDisk. It broke, so I think I have access to it on a Windows PC, but I don't have one with me. I you know, tried it before I left for LA. I tried it in Vancouver and it worked on a PC. But yeah, there was a lot of footage on there about the Travelers Company road trip that we were on and all these other things. So once I get that sorted out, I'll be posting more videos. But I hope you enjoyed this simple around the house kind of video. I definitely want to go on more walks with you guys, and now that I'm in Long Beach, the weather should be a little bit nicer. Honestly, it's raining right now, which is kind of a blessing as well. So yeah, it's been a lot, but I definitely want to start creating more and to living up to my word of the year and to shine more brightly and to share more brightly with you all. But I think that's it. Thank you again for all the support and love. If you made it to the end of this video, let's do a sun emoji, because all of you have brought so much light into my life during these tough times. And I hope you continue to find light and hope during your difficult times, if you're going through it, or in the future. You know, we always have this community and we have each other to rely on, and that's the most important part. Okay, that was the longest outro. All of this is to say that I love you. Please take care and be safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.